Hello, truth seekers. Lawrence here, and welcome to Easy Enlightenment. So, when you ask yourself, "Who am I?" this question already indicates that you don't know who you are, isn't it? Otherwise, why would you ask yourself, "Who am I?" Now, after hearing this, if you're not asking, "Who am I?" and if you have not seen who you are, then you're just pretending, isn't it? And when you pretend, you know that you're pretending because your awareness in you knows you're pretending, or you know you're pretending. So when you ask, it indicates that you don't know. If you don't ask, it indicates you're pretending. So there's no running and hiding when it comes to spiritual path. Yes, in the relative world, whatever we do, we can, skip, and we are successful in skipping. And because of that, we try to take a shortcut in every time there's a chance to skip. Every time to take a shortcut, we do it. But when it comes to inward journey, seeing who we are, there is no running, no hiding. Every run you make, your awareness knows you're running. Every time you try to hide, you know you're hiding. Everything that is happening in you is observed by the observer in you, which is the awareness in you. So, it knows everything. And the whole purpose of spiritual path is to get there, taking the seat of the observer. Our nature is the observer without the layers. And journey to take the observer's seat is about taking out all the layers that we have carried so far, we have identified ourselves with. That's why in the beginning, the "Who am I?" inquiry is to see the layers in us, to identify ourselves with the things that we are associated with, aligned with. So when you ask yourself, "Who am I?" and sit with the "Who am I?" inquiry, you will start to see the layers that you have become who you are today at this moment. Isn't it? When you ask, "Who am I?" you will identify yourself with who you are today, with that specific layer. And if you sit with the "Who am I?", then you'll start to see your past. You see the layers, who you were before this moment. And if you are missing, if you're missing the truth, then you are seeking the future you. Basically, the reason, not reason, when you start participating to "Who am I?", that already indicates you're missing the truth. That's why you're participating to "Who am I?" approach to figure out the truth. So when you're sitting with the "Who am I?" inquiry, and allow that to ring on the background. You see the moment, the present moment, you see the past, you also seek for the future you. Now, when we see all the layers and when we realize that I have become so many of me, I have so many layers in me, and I'm not free from my fear, from my conflict. And this process will help to make us humble in the spiritual path, isn't it? I have become so many of me, but I don't know who I am. And if there's a curiosity, then it opens the door to be part of the spiritual path. And that's the way to move in the spiritual path. The who am I approach, this inquiry help us to, make us see the ego layers in us. And that's the start. And after that, it's the willingness, it's the interest that will help us to stay in this path. Or if we haven't experienced the rock bottom, then also it's easy to lose this practice. If we have experienced a drastic failure in life, or if we have the interest, the willingness, these two things will help us to stay on this path. It's so easy to lose the spiritual path because life outside is fun, isn't it? And our whole life is towards the world. Before the spiritual path, it's all outside movement. And when our life is conditioned with the outside movement naturally pulls us towards that flow. And because of the conditioning, when we are new to spiritual path, we easily lose the inward flow because of the conditioning itself, because of the habitual pattern. That's why I'm saying, if you haven't failed enough in your life, or if you don't have the natural interest in freedom, it's easy to lose. And you can experience that in your life, isn't it? Even people who are interested will lose this path, because eventually you must realize that true freedom is about letting go. Letting go of everything. Detaching yourself from everything. And when you come to this point, this is where even the curious seeker, the sincere seekers will eventually fail. Especially when your life is comfortable, everything is running smooth. The layer that you're holding is providing the safety, comfort, fun in life. How could you let go of those things? Isn't it? It's hard to let go of the fun. Yes, there is a drama involved in it. How could you let go of the fun and support? How could you let go of the experience, fun time? This is where you can actually see the ego in you. If you have a hard time detaching from the world, that already shows that your ego is strong in you. That means you are attached to those things, your ego self. The ego self is there because of not able to see the truth. You don't know the truth, that's why your ego self makes you attached to something that is provides you the experience of fun. So lack of truth is a way to attach to the world. So again, when you attach to something, when you're clinging onto something, that means the ego is making you do that. Your ego self is making yourself attached to that because of the fear of the unknown, fear of uncertainty. And I'm saying this is the place where people start to give up the spiritual practice. Everybody is interested in the spiritual practice in the beginning. Everybody is curious. And when they come to this point, their interest, their openness, their willingness fades away. The curiosity, fades away. And when openness, curiosity, willingness, the interest fades away, and that makes us give up the spiritual path, the inquiry path, that itself is a failure. Failure to stay on the path to figure out the truth. Basically, the failing is to go back to our usual habit and conditioning, which is, again, fear and conflict. And we will be okay with the flow. And there is this idea that life is suffering from a Buddhist perspective. And, people hold on to this, life is suffering, so let me suffer. There's a fun as well, but I have to go through suffering and I accept this. So people give up the inquiry and be part of the mundane flow. That's how people numb themselves in the world. But life doesn't have to be in that flow. Yes, the outer world, you have to put some effort, but it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be suffering, and it doesn't have to be fear, full of fear. It doesn't have to be fear at all. We can understand the nature way of things and then be part of life by seeing life as it is rather than moving with the meaning and denying the observer side of us, which is the awareness. Lack of awareness makes us suffer. Taking the seat of the observer or awareness is to declutter life. And a spiritual journey is about taking the seat of the observer and dissolving all the layers to see the nature of the observer itself. And realizing that we are that. But fear is so powerful that fear makes us give up the practice, isn't it? And there are so much superficial practices in the world which works in the relative world, and people end up with those practices. They cannot give up the spiritual practice because the spiritual practice is the highest meaning in life. And the ego wants to, everyone's ego wants to align with the spiritual practice. And they, stay on the surface of the spiritual practice. And which is the control-based spiritual practice, which is taming your mind, taming the body. Taming the mind and body definitely works again in this, in the relative world, because when you tame, you're anchoring the awareness. When you anchor your awareness, you're not thinking now so much. Your thinking, is less because of your focus. So you see something is helpful there. And when you see something is helpful, you repeat that. And that's another way to numb yourself in those, the surface level of the spiritual practice. And when you numb, when you condition yourself in that level, you will have a hard time to let go of that as well. So we started the spiritual path to free ourselves. And when we realize that you have to give up, detach from everything in life to see who you are, and because of that moment creates a fear of letting go, and then you can't let go the spiritual meaning in your life, so you attach to the surface level of spirituality, and you end up adding one more layer in your life. And spiritual layer is the most stubborn layer in life, isn't it? Spiritual meaning is the highest meaning in life. And when that becomes a stubborn layer in you, when you see something is working, you're sort of done in the spiritual path. You'll have a hard time to be open to the inquiry path. Inquiry path is the simplest, straightforward path, leads you towards truth, but this path is always denied by everyone in the beginning. Some will come back. Maybe you'll come back to self-inquiry because you're hearing me again and again saying the same thing and the importance of self-inquiry. Maybe you'll come back. The thing is that most of the time people don't. And because of that, there's a struggle. The struggle is continuing, the fear is continuing. That means, you are suffering in your life, and the suffering will continue in your life. But this is the thing, deep down in you, that you want to taste freedom. The idea of freedom is there, but you're not open to that idea yet. Why? Because your surface level spirituality, you see it's working. Or you are just having fun in life right now. When you are having fun, you don't see the importance of spiritual path until you fail, until you see that nothing is working in your life. And probably that will make you align with the spiritual practice, and hopefully you will align with the straightforward path rather than crooked path. So, going back to who am I? Approach is that if you're asking yourself, who am I? That shows you don't know who you are, isn't it? You don't see who you are, that's why you're asking. And it's okay. Be open to know who you are, to see who you are. But don't be embarrassed by not knowing who you are. Because if you're embarrassed and not to be part of this journey itself, is you are already driven by your ego. You don't want to look embarrassed that you don't know who you are. So let go the limiting perspective and open to real freedom. Be part of this journey. And being part of this journey will show you the layers in you which you have thought to be true. And investigating the layers is the way to see that all thoughts are false when it comes to absolute freedom. Anyway, realizing the truth of who we are is a straightforward journey. It starts with who am I, to see the layers in you, and no layers is helping you to make yourself free. Then the second step is identifying your attachment and fear. Those are the layers, the heavily ingrained layers in you. And if you investigate and trace your fear and attachment backward, you can figure out the root cause of your fear and attachment. When you figure out the root, you already figure out there are webs of ideas involved in between before you see the root. And after you see the root, you have dismantled the root all the way until nothing is left. And in that process also you see further layers web together. Basically your mind is like a web of ideas are linking together to become who you are. And freedom is a backward process of seeing all the layers until you go to no layers. And when you go to the point of no layers, no more ideas. When you reach the no mind, the first inquiry, which is who am I, has to come back again after being thorough in dismantling your mind or subtracting the mind. And when you ask who am I, that's the make or break point. If you fail to see the truth, that means you're not thorough in your process, thorough in dismantling. And if you're thorough, the final who am I will not fail you. That means you will not fail yourself to see the plain sight truth. Okay? So that's the simple, straightforward process of becoming free within. Free from the conflict, free from the mind, free from the struggle. Okay, anyway, thanks for watching this video. Take care for now. See you in the next video. Bye.